I had the opportunity to sit down with Phil Fogg and Cliff MaGee and talk about the jet class here at Reno.
Well, the jet class was invitational only with some astronauts and some air show pilots. And in the year of 2000, 2001, of course, the air races were grounded. And then in 2002, they came back on the invitational basis. In 2004, Reno recognized that there was a need for another class and that the jets had some popularity to them. And so we had an open qualifying with the stock L39s. Since then, we've opened it up to a modified, pretty much an unlimited class of jet racers. You can come out and run your stock airplane, or you can run a true racing airplane. And we've been limited to one heat, but next year Reno is going to up our prize money to $50,000, give us 2 heats, and so we're going to have 18 racers. We'll probably have 21 jets here on the field. And what we're looking at is going through we'll have a true racing class here, like we've seen in the L29s that are going almost 540 miles an hour. And we're going to open up a sport class or a stock class so you can race what you brung. That means you can race your ride, you don't have to make any modifications on it, and you can just come out and have fun and fly your airplane where there's nowhere else in the world you can legally fly your airplane like you do here at Reno.
So I have 2 lipstick cameras, the one right straight out of the front and the one that shoots out of the side. I like to get the formation, and it's really a better, of course. Unfortunately, the audio is on the one out the nose, so I'll show you some of both. We'll start with the one out the side, which I think is the preferable view. And this is the start, and we spent a lot of time on the ramp, so I'll just show you the angle, and then I'm going to move it up and show you the takeoff and then the form up.
So these are live right now?
This was on Wednesday, and I forgot to tape yesterday's race. But today, I just told the crew to put a sticky on the instrument panel because I forget things like turning my air conditioning off and turning the camera on. So this is our start. We start. Everybody takes off. Fastest airplanes that qualified first. Well, first the pace plane, then the fastest airplanes back to the slower airplanes. And we take off and form up in a big left turn that takes us out to behind Mount Peavine over here. And so then I'll bring you up.
Okay, I got it. I can give it to you.
Now we're formed up, and we're actually now already finished our turnaround, or we're finishing our turnaround Peavine. You see the airport down here? We're finishing our turnaround Peavine, and the pace plane's bringing us up line abreast right here. On the other one, you'll be able to hear that. And about this point, he's going to say, "Gentlemen, you have a race." And so you see the faster airplanes start pulling away. And I got a guy right here on my left, and it's my obligation to keep him in sight.
Okay.
But you can't see him through your camera.
No, not at the moment, but I can see him visually. If I turned the camera further that way, I could. But here, you see him right there? So it's my job to keep him until we get around 4 to make sure everything's safe, and I've got plenty of room for him to fly that course.
Do you watch the shadows as well?
Try not to. They just confuse me a little bit. I've heard some guys say they do. You'll see these pylons as we go around them.
It better be.
There's a pylon. You'll see pylon 6. That's 5. I had the step fall down in this race right then, and it scared me. I didn't know what was wrong. It makes a terrible noise, so I was looking in the cockpit. And so I slowed down a little bit, and he went on. But I'm going to move on to the other camera now. I'm going to give you a lap or 2 of this, and then I'll move on to the other camera, and I'll show you. And you get to hear the audio.
Yeah, go ahead and move on now.
Okay.
John Wayne Airport or something.
So when you're flying like that, what kind of stuff are you monitoring in the plane, outside?
I don't have time to look inside. I'm looking at the course and at the other airplanes.
You're watching for pylons and other airplanes.
That's it. I can't. If I glance in at a temp, it's just a glance and I'm back outside. I just simply don't have time.
Is there something that will alert you to an overtemp, or?
Well, I have a caution panel that's up pretty high. If a light came on, I'd probably see it. All right, so I'm going to move this one up to the form up. This is the takeoff. The next call will, the tower or the race control will tell our pace plane that he's got his last airplane in the air, at which time he starts his turn.
Who's got control now? Is it the pace plane launching you, or is it the tower?
Pace plane now is in charge of our flight. We had a hot mic on race control, and so we'd had a little non-standard situation using the ground control as our frequency. So there's a little discussion about getting that sorted out, but I'm going to try to find it. Oh, you just said it. So an 8-ship line abreast is very difficult and very non-standard. You don't ever fly a formation right up on line abreast.
Is that a difficult formation to hold since it's kind of an unnatural position looking straight left instead of kind of echelon?
It's very difficult. Yeah, it's the toughest thing we do.
Yeah, do you get a lot of input into your plane from the aerodynamics of the other planes you're flying with, or just spacing and monitoring speed and whatnot?
Yeah.
So you're working on forming up now.
Trying to keep a line straight, and once the line, then he'll eventually tell us.
So let me.
Gentlemen, you got to race.
I need to have a call tag and have it picked up on Monday.
And at this point, the pace plane is
He pulls off,
okay.
and the fast airplanes you'll see start to come out here.
And as you're monitoring, as you're watching them pull away, you're kind of looking for position with the planes that you're on par with?
That's exactly right. And when the guy that I'm here finally gets nose-tail clearance, then I can move over onto the course.
And what kind of line are you looking for as you go into the course? Are you looking what you're comfortable with, high, low, into the pylons, kind of outside, just what your personal preference is?
Yeah, it's my personal preference, which happens to be relatively low. I feel like I can fly a little tighter course. I got comfortable down there. I like it. But you got to stay out of the dirt. So you stay out of the dirty air from the airplanes in front of you. It goes down and to the left slightly. So you need to find a place where you can get to as close to your comfort point without flying in his dirty air.
So now yesterday we saw race 5 flew in a little bit of dirty air and got a little wobbly as he was coming past the home pylon. Is that something that you are aware of just because you're familiar with the race course and the positions of the planes, or is that?
To some degree. Sometimes it'll surprise you where it is. So you'll see me get some right here, I think going around 2. I'll get into 5's dirt right there. So then you try a different place, you know?
Now it looks like you don't even really flatten out at all throughout the race.
On some laps I get almost wings level right here, but really not. At this speed, close to 500 miles an hour, you just don't have a chance to go wings level.
All right, so now's a good time to ask the question, how did you get into this originally, and how did you progress to this state?
Well, I came to Reno as a spectator, and I had not too long before gotten out of the military, flew Cobras in Vietnam, flew both fixed-wing helicopters in the Army, loved aviation, and was completely obsessed with what I saw when I got here. These guys, having the FAA permit them to go out and fly low and fast was very appealing to me. So, much to my wife's chagrin, I bought a Formula One racer that year and started through that learning process where the Formula Ones are a wonderful organization that has a process where they'll sort of spoon feed you through the process. In those days, your own class sort of brought you along to the point where you could race in your first race. Reno now has a program called Pylon Racing Seminar once a year in June that does a terrific job for guys who want to come for the first time, teaching them how this happens. It's a very complicated process in order to keep it safe. And but that was my deal. I came here as a fan, got obsessed, got involved. I raced Formula Ones for 15 years. And due to some business situations, my board of directors asked me to get some Keyman life insurance, and the cost was prohibitive, so I had to quit racing. So after I retired and sold my company, I bought the jet, found out they were racing jets down here, and I just had to come back.
From the Reno Air Races, I'm Mark Chiolis for Plane and Pilot.